Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to another look at beta patch 1.5 for Elite Dangerous. I've just dropped into one of the new mission zones that's available in space. This one is called a distress signal, and it seems that there isn't actually anything here aside from a new NPC ship called Rescue 1. These rescue ships come in multiple forms. This is an ASP, and I've seen a Diamondback around in other instances as well. Now it seems that for whatever reason there isn't actually anything here that's in distress, so both myself and this rescue ship are here for no reason. So fair enough, time to move on. Now as you can see from the information in the bottom, this was from patch 1 of this particular beta, so it may well be that this particular issue has been fixed. But there in the communications window you can see the text that Rescue 1 is broadcasting. Now, as usual with any big update, I like to go and have a look at the graphical changes within the game. This is the Asteroid Field in Xeons, and I'm looking at it here both with and without a graphics mod. This is a standard view. You can see that the lighting is a bit better, the draw distance is improved, and also the fog is there. This is with Sweet FX, which highlights the fog and gives us a bit different lighting as well. I personally really like the graphics mods, and you can see a link to a video about them in the description below. A lot of people play it without them, and well, it's all down to personal taste. This is from slightly above the rings. This is with a different mod. This is with Reshade and using Insomnia's profile from the Frontier forums. And this is the standard view. So you can see the fog effect now looks pretty good. There are some draw distance issues where you can see the very close up for asteroids having disappearing as they move off into the distance, but that's partially obscured by the amount of fog there. So overall it seems more or less the same as what we had in patch 1.4, at least in terms of the asteroid belts. I have heard some rumblings that there's been some drastic reductions in the quality of shadows in some places, and that's something I'll look into a bit closer a little later on. So this is another variant on the distress call mission, and you can see what's happened here is that there's an NPC that's under attack. But the instant I've dropped into this area, I've also become under attack as well. And you can see up there on the top right, as I entered this instance, the communications got cut off, so I won't be getting any help from the local authorities. So essentially this is a trap and works along the lines of the hazardous extraction sites and the compromised nav beacons. I had to actually run here as I was in no way equipped for combat in any form. I'll come back to these space-based missions in a minute, but another thing I wanted to do was get a closer look at the Imperial Clipper. Here I've got it outfitted pretty much to A-spec level. On the front I've got a huge plasma cannon which actually looks pretty decent, and it's very effective as you're going to see later on. I was also here testing out the Sweet FX injector mod just to have a look at how that appeared. And here is a similar view of the ship, but this time using Reshade and again with Insomnia's profile. All of this will be linked below in the video description. Now I quite like this profile, but it does have some problems with beta patch 1.5. It seems to glitch out on the shadows, but it gives the game quite a different look to what you get from all the other mods and profiles. And I've got to admit, the Imperial Cutter is actually really starting to grow on me. It's quite a nice ship to fly, and it's very nice looking too. Now, there are a bunch of different open space-based missions now. You've got the wrecked ship scenarios, the new deep space salvage scenarios, distress call scenarios, which this one here is another one of those, as well as the Alliance VIP escort. I haven't actually seen the escort mission, but that could be because I haven't been in Alliance space yet. So this was another distress call mission. This time they didn't cut off the link to the authorities, so the authorities could have turned up, but as I was in a cutter, it really wasn't a problem at all anyway. And picking on the weak ships might seem a bit mean, but it was actually a nice opportunity to see the effect of a huge plasma cannon on a lonely Sidewinder, nearly one shot killing him. A weapon I certainly plan on testing out on some of the larger ships at some point. So now the hostiles were eliminated, it was time to turn around and see what was going on with the ship that was actually in distress. As I turned around to see what was going on, I found that the only ship present was actually another Rescue 1. There's 2 contacts on the radar there. The other one turned out to be a fuel limpet drone. So while I was busy distracting the NPCs trying to destroy them, Rescue 1 had jumped in and refueled the target ship. I guess that is a tactic and a scenario that could work well in a wing. But it's interesting nonetheless to see how these scenarios can actually play out. When you think you've got the hostile NPCs in one of these areas, along with the ship that's in distress, Rescue 1 can make an appearance, along with some System Authority vessels, not to mention yourself, or maybe a wing if you're in one of those. So even though these scenarios are still in a rather basic implementation at the moment, they're starting to feel quite lively. So, on this particular occasion, I actually managed to get to the ship that was in distress before anyone else and activate my fuel transfer drones, giving it some much needed fuel. The NPC is rather happy with the assistance, but at the moment there doesn't seem to be any reward you get for this, and there's nothing that appears in your transaction menu either, so maybe that's something that's going to come a little bit later on. But like I say, these make for some nice variations on the gameplay. There's something else rather interesting that has been added into Beta 3 of patch 1.5, and that is the new community goal station out in the Pleiades Nebula. Obsidian Orbital is now here and present and accounted for. So this is the first time that we've actually got to see a station out in a nebula, and it's truly wonderful to actually see this. The station has been put in the system Maya, which is one of the more interesting ones. It's got a whole bunch of different stars out here, but it's also got a black hole present. So coming here is going to give non-explorers something to see that they probably haven't seen before. A variety of stars within a single system, a nebula as well as a black hole. That's worth making the trip alone. Now, as of this update, the final stage of the community goal for this station hadn't yet been completed, so that meant this station hasn't got all the services available in it yet. As I'm recording this, the actual community goal completed just a few hours ago, unlocking the 7th tier. Now, my understanding is that this station will have a whole bunch of services once it goes live, with the exception of a shipyard and outfitting. Those won't actually be present unless something does change between now and the moment the station goes live. But in either event, we've now got a station out here in a nebula with some basic services already present. Here you can see me using universal cartographics. There are also a number of minor factions present, 4 in fact, and we can have a quick look at them. Frontier have given them some rather interesting names. So there we've got CQC Holdings, Rider Revolutionary Party. That is named after Ben Ryder, a player and forum member who has put a lot of effort into making this community goal a tremendous success. We got the Pioneers Cooperative. You'll be hearing a bit more about that at a future date. A rather surprising one there, the Nebula Goat Appreciation Society. You may remember my image that started off my entire video series on this particular community goal. And there, of course, is Hagglebeard and his heroes, named of course after the mighty Commander Hagglebeard. This entire event has been a massive effort from the community as a whole, and it's really nice to see it all coming together at last. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the final version of this going live in the main game. This then is the system map for Maya, and you can see it's a rather interesting configuration. There's a lot of stars here, some of them just brown dwarfs, but there's a giant star right at the centre of the system, as well as this black hole here. Now the black hole is quite a distance away. I think it's about 300 or so light seconds, so it's going to take quite a while for anyone to get to once they're actually in this system, but it's still well worth having a look at. And of course there's a few ring systems here that should be mineable as well. And in addition to that, they should hopefully have some resource extraction sites located in them. Here is some external footage of the new station. It is the Ocellus type. In design terms, these are ones that are typically deployed right to the frontier edges of inhabited space or in expansion space. Of course the Pleiades is well outside the current inhabited bubble, so essentially this new station marks a new expansion into new territory for humanity. Although as yet we haven't encountered them in game, there are some alien species out there, and we don't know just yet how they may perceive this expansion. It's just slightly possible that it could come with some form of consequence. But then again, who knows, it's equally as possible that nothing more than the station's arrival itself will happen. In either event, hopefully this is just the first step in the expansion attempts, and maybe we'll end up into another nebula at some point. And getting back out to the missions again, I come across some rather interesting objects. One of them you got a glimpse of at the very start of this video, and I'll be getting to that one in just a moment. This was from a shipwreck site. It's a small data cache here, Now, I don't know if these were in the game previously. I never come across one, but I guess that doesn't mean they weren't there. But it's another type of illegal salvage. And it's quite possible that these will generate further missions at some point. Some of the wrecked ships leave behind a black box, and you often find a Rescue 1 making an appearance in these sites. Now, Rescue 1, I'm sure they're out here to help, but they can be a little bit of a jerk at some times. Just as I was about to scoop this black box, Rescue 1 thought it'd be nice to have it for themselves. Oh well, never mind, I guess. And after a bit of travelling about, I found myself here, just about to make the best discovery of the night. An unknown artifact. Now this is the first time I've ever seen one of these in the game. For those of you that don't know, it's widely assumed that these are alien artifacts, and you've just heard the rather unusual and somewhat creepy noise they make. Now that's emitted by the artifact itself, and I'm just going to get a closer look at it. Now I didn't want to get too close and crash into it and destroy it. It's the first time I've found one of these, so I was being extra careful here. They probably can take a bit of a bump, but I really didn't want to take any chances. Now, no one knows what these are really about at the moment, but there are some massive player undertakings to try and figure out what they're all about. This isn't by any means exclusive to patch 1.5, they've been in the game since patch 1.2. But as I said, it's the first time I've ever actually seen one in the game, so I thought it was worthwhile including it in this video. There's quite an extensive history to these unknown artifacts, and I've just finished recording a lore video on them. I'll be releasing that very soon. Edward Lewis from Frontier is also doing a live stream on these with Canon Research. That will probably be over and done with by the time you see this video, but it should be available as an archive video on Frontier's YouTube channel. There's a few other changes in 1.5, most of them are just quality of life improvements and various changes to the UI. I'll try and get a video out to show you some of them, but the big changes are due for next week in beta for Horizons, released on the 24th of November hopefully, and of course I'll be making plenty of videos on that without doubt. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant, and this is Beta Patch 1.5 for Elite Dangerous. I'm here in Shinrata Desra, which is the Founder's World, and it has all of the ships and modules available for us to take a look at.